Hey guys, I want to give you just another example of finding a limiting reactant. I'm going to walk you through the question that is actually worked out in your textbook, but sometimes it helps us, I know, to see the actual steps done. So you're going to find this on page 380 in your text. So you can read it and then look at what I'm doing and then see how this applies, okay? So we're given a balanced equation. We have sulfur reacting, 1 mole of sulfur reacts with 4 moles of chlorine to give us 4 moles of disulfur dichloride. And then the details of this reaction is that 200 grams of sulfur are reacting with 100 grams of chlorine. And then the question actually asks us to find how much of this we can make under these circumstances. But first, we have to find the limiting reactant because we've been given 2 masses. So I'm going to ignore just the basic stoichiometry for just a minute and just deal with finding the limiting reactant because that must be done when we are given 2 masses. So we take the mass of sulfur, I'm sorry, that should have been 8, of sulfur 8, and we are going to say that we have to convert this to moles. 1 mole of sulfur 8 is, and this is a ginormous molecule because it has 8 sulfurs in it, 0.5 grams. So 1 mole has this mass because I took the mass of sulfur, which is what, 32.1, multiplied by 8 to get this mass. So we're going to calculate that as 0.7797. We can have 4 sig figs moles of sulfur 8. That's how many moles I have from this 200 gram sample. The next thing I'm going to do is take the 100 grams of chlorine, 100 grams of Cl2, and I'm going to convert that to moles. 1 mole of Cl2. Now the molar mass of chlorine is 2 chlorines at 35.453, so that gets us to 70.91 grams per mole of this chlorine molecule. Let's cancel these out, right? Our units cancel. So this means that we have 1.410 moles of chlorine. All right, so this is what I'm going to use. Now, I have to compare this back to this. Now, it is hard to compare these decimals and these numbers with decimals to these whole numbers. So here is the process. I want to have the number 1 show up somewhere. So I do that. The process is this. If we don't have whole numbers here, we're going to take 1.410 mole of chlorine and put it over 0.7797 moles of the sulfur 8. And then we're just going to reduce that, right? We're going to divide both of these numbers by the smallest. So this ends up with 1 mole of S8, and all I do is take 1.4, divide it by 0.7797, and that gets me 1.808 moles of Cl2. Now, I look back at my balanced equation, all right? And this is where we compare. The balanced equation says for every 1 mole of S8, I must have 4 moles of Cl2. That's what the balanced equation from the BE, that's the facts, Jack. For 1 mole, I have to have 4 for this equation to proceed. But with the amounts that I have been given, when I have 1 mole of sulfur and only 1.8 moles of chlorine, do I have enough chlorine? Do I have enough Cl2? No, I do not. So therefore, this, even though I have more moles of it than this, that you cannot look at it like that. It's what is this ratio? No. So Cl2 is the LR, is the limiting reactant. Hope that helps. If it doesn't, I'll post another video. Let me know.